Britain has just been hit with an economic bombshell. The numbers are out and they paint a very different picture to what Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves have been telling the country. Behind the spin, the reality is starting to unravel. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Britain has just been hit with a sobering economic warning, one that completely tears apart the spin coming out of Downing Street. According to the OECD, the UK faces the highest level of inflation of any major economy this year. And to make matters worse, growth is set to slow to a crawl, dropping from 1.4% now to just 1% by 2026. This isn't just another dry forecast. It's a direct reality check against Keir Starmer's narrative that Britain is supposedly booming. He and Chancellor Rachel Reeves keep boasting that the UK economy is the fastest growing in the G7 this year. But the truth is, once you strip away the spin, the fundamentals are rotten. Inflation is still running hot, food costs are biting into household budgets, and Britain's so-called growth is already forecast to grind to a halt. Let's break down the numbers. The OECD predicts that UK inflation will hit 3.5% in 2025. That's not only higher than its previous forecast, it's still well above the Bank of England's 2% target. By 2026, inflation may ease to 2.7%. But that's still too high. In other words, families won't get real relief anytime soon. What's driving it? Food costs, essentials, the weekly shop, the basics. People can't live without. These are what's spiraling. Now, here's the kicker. The OECD isn't just pointing at prices. They're warning that Starmer's tighter fiscal stance, which basically means more taxes, and less spending will strangle growth. Higher taxes at a time of high inflation is the worst of both worlds. It's squeezing working people, suffocating businesses, and killing off investment. Yet Starmer and Reeves are trying to present this as sound management. It's not. It's managed decline. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, tried to spin these figures as proof that Britain is stronger than forecast. She even boasted that the UK was the fastest growing economy in the G7 during the first half of the year. On paper, yes, the economy grew 0.7% in the first quarter and 0.3% in the second. But here's the reality. That momentum is already fading and it's being artificially propped up by global distortions. Because what the OECD also makes clear is that global trade is shifting. Growth worldwide is set to weaken in the second half of the year. Why? Tariffs. President Trump's new tariff hikes are forcing companies to rush shipments, front-loading their trade to dodge steeper levies. That created an artificial bump in global output, including for Britain. But once that front-loading ends, the effect wears off. The OECD flat out says global growth will soften noticeably as 2025 rolls on. That means stars bragging about growth is like claiming victory in the middle of a sugar. And the proof is in the forecast. 1% growth by 2026. That's stagnation. That's flatlining. Now, let's think about what this means for ordinary people. High food prices mean your paycheck stretches less and less every week. High taxes mean the government is taking more of what you earn before you even see it. And weak growth means fewer opportunities, lower investment, and less chance of your wages rising in real terms. That's the triple hit the OECD is warning about. Meanwhile, Downing Street wants to distract you with empty sound bites about delivering change, but the only thing they're delivering is economic pain dressed up as responsible governance. Reeves says she wants an economy that works for working people. But how does hiking taxes presiding over the highest inflation in the G7 and watching growth collapse achieve that? It doesn't. And the bigger danger here is credibility. Investors, businesses, and ordinary citizens are not blind. When Starmer and Reeves claim things are booming, while international bodies like the OECD show the opposite, it destroys trust. And once confidence erodes, it becomes even harder to attract the investment Britain desperately needs to dig itself out of this hole. So, let's call this what it is, a collapse unfolding in real time. The spin is unraveling. The truth is catching up. And the British people are once again left paying the price for political dishonesty because you can't tax a country into prosperity. You can't spin away the highest inflation in the G7. And you can't claim to be delivering change while the economy drifts toward stagnation. Star's lies are being exposed, not in theory, but in cold hard numbers. And if this is what the first year looks like, just imagine what the next few will bring. In other news, Reform UK is now neck and neck with Plaid Cymru in Wales, with recent polling showing Nigel Farage's party is just 1% off the lead. New polling from YouGov says Reform UK would claim 29% of the vote in Wales, an impressive 4-point boost from a previous poll in April. Labour's vote share fell by 4%, leaving them in a distant third with just 14%. Reform recently claimed a by-election seat of Labour last week as Edward Tpam became the first Reform councillor on Cardiff Council, winning with a 461-vote majority. Pollster James Johnson says it is seismic for Reform to be leading the polls in Wales. He recently said there is a group of voters in Wales who are immune to what happened in the Red Wall in 2019 when Boris Johnson stormed to victory. They are people who are white, working class, are deeply concerned about levels of migration and voted Leave but still voted Labour then and since. Perhaps it was admiration of Mark Drake. Perhaps just a stronger national loyalty to the Labour Party. That link now seems to have become unbuckled. Those voters are all to play for and dismayed by the Conservative Party and always suspicious of their intentions. Anyway, Reform is filling that void, and it is completely conceivable to see Reform place first in Wales this year and be a dominant force there in the years going forward. What will come as a real blow for Labour is that only 27% of those who voted for them in 2024 would back the party at the next Senate election, dropping from 40% in April. Interim branch chair for Reform Carvin Gareth Beer said Labour is clearly demoralised and their voters are clearly deserting them in droves UK-wide and especially in Wales. Mr. Beer said there is an enthusiasm on the ground with the party when campaigning and knocking on doors. At the recent by-election, the writing was on the wall for a Reform win, with a Labour source saying, having knocked on quite a few doors, it was obvious that we were going to lose. Voters who were previously marked as Labour supporters said they wouldn't be voting, while others must have voted for Reform. Reform UK spokeswoman for Bridgen Caroline Jones said the party is growing stronger by the day in Wales and we aim to become the leading party in the Sand. Speaking, she said, if you look at the result of the recent council by-election in Cardiff, we can see how the people of Wales feel betrayed by all of the parties in the Senate. Labour has always led in the Senate, propped up by their little helpers, Plaid Cymru. Public consultations have been ignored, even when the people have strongly vetoed a government proposal. The Reform members have eyes on more seats in the capital as they look to turn Wales turquoise.